Hello, my dear friends, operator Starsky here. I tricked you, it's tea and news review actually, because I ran out of coffee accidentally. Gotta buy some today. It's good to see you, my dear friends. It's so good to see you. We have Steve and Tim and Bad Dog and the first student Zero and Steve again and Martin and Chester. Team Lawrence, as always, very, very nice to see you here as Welsh Gummer. And I need coffee, unfortunately. I can only treat you with tea this morning. Also, Betsy and Trine and Garrett. Very, very nice to see you here. And Vintage Mom, hello, hello. Hello to the beautiful UK. Hello, Adrian and everyone else. Greg, how goes the war? Well, we will talk about this this morning, all right? Okay, let me position myself just a bit properly. Ruth, hello, and Mike and Bibi. So good to see you, my friends. Let's check out the recent updates that we have. Hello to the beautiful Massachusetts, land of the yeah. What can I say? What can I say, Jax? Black and white debate. Hello, hello, and Wallaby and Haji. Hello. All right. Let's jump straight into the fresh footage of the Russian firework. The Russians are so happy to record what is happening at this moment at their Orenburg gas processing plant. All right, they are so happy to see all that. Wow, the kids are so impressed with the fireworks. You don't see that often. Like, you know, if you want to see fireworks taking place on your Russian land, that's like one of the best ways is to start the war against Ukraine, because otherwise you would probably live a very, very boring life. The dude is like, I can feel heat right here in the car. Oh my God. I bet this heat is coming from other places, dude. I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, I would also be impressed if I saw that. The cloud is impressing, and friends, this stuff that we observe is one of the largest Russian gas-producing facilities. We will talk about it a bit later. So just so you could understand, the capacity of this power plant is approximately 37.5 billion cubic meters of gas per year. Billion, my friends. Where is it spent? Hello to the beautiful Japan, Where is it spent, Matias, by the way? Do you know where is it? How is this gas used? Of course, this gas is used primarily in the Russian industry, basically building bombs, building shells, and all that shit. Romania officially recognized Russia the main source of the hybrid threats. Simi, hello. Romania finished its new strategy for the national defense for 2026-2030, and before 26th of November, the highest council for the Romanian national defense and parliament should also review this strategy. And the new strategy, hello Augusta, the new strategy also recognizes terrorist federation, the main source of the hybrid threats. Among the main, among the key issues is adaptation of the defense sector in order to address the threats in the Black Sea region, integration, improving or expanding the cooperation in terms of NATO and European Union, and also increasing capabilities in terms of cybersecurity and fighting disinformation. Oh my God. This is really, really cool, my friends, because Russian disinformation, Russian cyber threat, Russian threat in the Black Sea. Well, Ukraine can deal with that, as we know, but all those are absolutely vital to talk about. You need to understand that currently, because Russia cannot win on the battlefield, of course, they will continue their hybrid warfare against European countries. They already increased the spendings on their external propaganda by 50%, more than 50%, according to Ukrainian Minister Sybiha, and we will see all that disinformation spreading and growing dramatically, because they realized that their efforts in terms of spreading disinformation were not enough. So we will see more pro-Russian propagandists again. We will see more Russian websites that basically copy-paste legit informational outlets, and we will see all that stuff. And basically we will see all those threats that current White House completely ignores, all right, because they don't know what it means. So another, I would say, rather threatening news that we received yesterday was that the Terrorist Federation is expanding its production of their new gliding bombs that have a range of up to 200 kilometers, according to the representative of the Ukrainian. Oh my God, my English sucks so bad this morning. I really need coffee. Representative of Ukrainian main intelligence directorate, Mr. Skibitsky, Russia is expanding the production of those gliding bombs. And returning to these fireworks, all right, that we could observe. Absolutely amazing view. I mean, that's like Russian landscape, all right. The way it's supposed to look like. So that one, the Orenburg gas producing factory, and also Novokuybышevsk oil refinery, according to Reuters, they stopped their production completely. They stopped all the operations, which Novokuybышevsk was actually hit already, I don't know, like 4 or 5 times, I think, since the beginning of this year. And also that one, again, one of the biggest Russian gas producing factories, I think it's absolutely beautiful. So they completely stopped production. Also, Kazakhstan confirmed that the Russians stopped accepting the gas from the Kazakhstan. Who's making me some coffee? Trying? I don't know, really. I need it myself badly. I would just, inject it. I need coffee too, says Mama Disco, but at $100 a pound, cannot afford it. Where does it cost so much? Oh my God. That's crazy. George, hello. George Hannes, SSW, hello. Weezer, Pinkerton, nice to see you. And also Peklo. Hello, my friend. Can't you hang up a Ukrainian flag? Just a second, my friend. I already have one. For those who literally, they want to understand which channel it is. Here is everything. But just for you, my friend. All right. All right, that's better, I think. What do you say, my friends? Unfortunately, I cannot hang it lower because it will fall down, but that's the best I can do. All right. Okay, now my channel is even more blue and yellow than at the channel of the Russian dude, which is crazy. Or maybe it's a proper thing, right? Let's switch to the rest of the updates. I mean, like, guys, I always fulfill your wishes, all right? Let's switch to the rest of the news. Bulgaria, turns out. Bulgaria is actually ready to give way to the Russian, to Putin's airplane if Moscow addresses Bulgaria with such a request, according to the chief of the Ministry of External Affairs of Bulgaria. Please do. I believe different unexpected things may happen. All right, different unexpected things may happen if a Russian airplane with Putin on board crosses a border of a country that recognizes authority of the International Crime Court. Of course, not mentioning Hungary, because we know the situation in Hungary at this point. All right. What else do we have? The French Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jean-Noël Barrot, said that Putin's best interest is to accept the immediate ceasefire because time works against him. And basically, this is what we were talking about since probably late 2024, early 2025. He says, very early in the observable future, in the very closest weeks, we will give Ukraine the necessary measures to defend itself at least for the next 3 years, due to the credit that will be returned using the Russian reparations, which Russia will pay to Ukraine, the credit that will help Ukraine to equip itself with the weaponry necessary to protect itself and, of course, European weapons as well. Доброго ранку, just a Dutch guy, so good to see you here in our chat. I have new background. I don't know, maybe I should freaking use it. I think it looks absolutely amazing. Why I never did that before? So, size matters. Mercado, hello, brother. Hello, Andrew. How are you doing? How are you? I changed the background. Check this out. Like, why didn't I do it earlier? I have no idea. But thanks to the wise advice, all right, from my dear family there in the chat, I decided to change this one. Like, seriously, it looks so cool. Oh my god. I have like this moment of enlightening. By the way, Andrew, please let me know what's the situation, because I've seen you traveling to the protests, the anti-king protests in the United States. Fuck. History literally goes down the spiral. I think it's absolutely amazing to see such protests in like 2025, but we have what we have. So let's switch to the updates. What the French minister was referring to is, of course, he's speaking about the frozen Russian assets, the money that we acquire due to the interest of those assets, and we can spend them on the new defense weaponry for Ukraine. And as you can see, European countries also united in the PRL program. In frames of this program, they're buying stuff from the United States, again, to help Ukraine defend itself. So that's one thing, but besides that, we can see that the European position doesn't shift much, all right? They keep standing for Ukraine, they keep supporting Ukraine, and this is the main thing, all right? Little butter waffles are dangerous, says Google Man. I don't know, I like them so much, especially with like plum jam. Plum jam works very, very nice. However, home prepared waffles are of course the best. Mercado says, we are so cooked. Brother, you are really not, because what is happening right now in the United States, as I see it, is a process of evolution. And bro, I would never say anything bad about the United States looking at those processes, because Ukrainians went through the same shit, all right? Several times. So be strong, be decent, and never lose your light, brother. Ukraine stands with you, my friends. And unite. Russians must be pooping themselves. I can confirm that, actually. One interesting commentary coming from Donald Trump, who was asked by a journalist if they discussed attacks of the terrorist federation against the civilian infrastructure and civilian targets in Ukraine. And Trump basically, I think you already saw that video, Trump basically said that, yeah, of course we discussed that, right? Like we discussed strikes on civilians in Ukraine, but he says majority of people who died are soldiers. Andrew says, and you know us real Americans stand with Ukraine forever, bro. I know that, my friend. I know that, brother. And we will never think a different way. We know that decent people stand against Russian terrorism and always support countries like Ukraine that were always friendly towards United States and were always your partners and friends, basically family. Yeah, we have the same enemy. So I don't know, the chat here asks like what kind of shit the Putin told him to the Trump that I don't know, he changed his narrative so dramatically, all right, he changed his position towards Ukraine so dramatically. I have no idea. Martin UK, have a great working day. Ali Queen, as an American watching America, has been helping me get through these crazy times over here. This is why we are here on the screen, to motivate and to inspire you, my friends. So that's the reason why we are here, not only to deliver you information, but primarily to fight demotivation, to fight whatever depression and whatever stress you might have from watching all the shit taking place in different parts of the world, sometimes in your country as well. But everything will be fine, my friends. Everything will be fine. I checked. Again, as someone who participated in 2 revolutions in Ukraine, I can tell you that everything will be fine. Why did Trump change his stance again towards Ukraine? We were talking about tomahawks just a week ago, and everyone was so happy. And 1 week Trump will say Ukraine can liberate all of its land, and the next week, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And the next week he will scream at Zelensky to give it to Russians, to give in to Putin's demand. That's exactly what I'm saying. But again, I was saying the same basically 2 weeks ago. Like the countdown before Trump actually starts, shifting his rhetoric towards Ukraine and turning his face or some other part of his body towards Russia is ticking. All right, it already started. So basically now we can see that. So his narratives live for like a couple of weeks. I literally, my friends, I have a dream, all right? I have a dream that one day we will stop talking about Trump. Seriously, this is something I'm looking forward, because talking about this person every single day. I have no idea. Of course, it doesn't help him to receive his fucking Nobel Prize. Literally, I don't give a fuck. Of course, if he gave Ukraine like 2,000 tomahawks, I would be the first one who actually, wore the red hat and say like, thank you so much. But I would fucking take a knife and I would cut that Nobel Prize out of wood for him myself. But that will never happen, my friends, which makes me absolutely happy, actually. Why did he change his position? Because he didn't even have position on the first place. All right, position regarding Ukraine started acquiring shape. All right, I would say in the past 3 months, when some person emerged who actually started delivering Trump information from the American intelligence regarding the situation, regarding the daily losses, regarding the situation on the front, regarding the movement of the Russian troops. And he started seeing the real situation, the actual situation on the ground. And that is when his position started to like forming up, all right? But his actual preferences never changed. He still loves Putin. He still doesn't want to sanction Russia. He still doesn't want to provide Ukraine with more weaponry. Nothing changed much, all right? So everything was like it was basically in February 2025, my friends. We cannot see any dramatic shifts, not only in terms of his position, not only in terms of Trump's stance, but also in terms of situation, all right, situation on the front, because Russia is not closer to peace today as it was in February, and also there is no hope that Russians will agree to have ceasefire, because again, Russia did not start this war to literally have ceasefire. Russia started this war because they wanted Ukraine. They wanted to capture Kyiv. They wanted basically whole Ukrainian territory. They wanted to establish that land corridor to Crimea and all the way to Odessa. Basically, they wanted the whole southern Ukrainian shore, and they will not change their plans just because, some guy in the United States wants them to do that and doesn't do anything to force them, all right? Because kissing Putin's butt never leads to stopping wars. It leads to more wars, actually. That's the horrible truth. What else? Guys, just a second. I need to reply. All right. All right. What else do we have? We have some kick-ass footage of Ukrainian strike drone attacking the terror Russian radio location system Valdai in the area of Jankoy air base in the temporarily occupied Ukrainian Crimea. Kind of cool. I wonder what kind of drone is that, because to me it doesn't look like FPV, of course, the thermal camera, and also the speed probably is a good evidence that it's a fixed-wing drone. Maybe something like Peklo, maybe. I don't know. But the video is impressive, all right? So what else do we have? Bataysk, Rostov Oblast. The happy Russian citizens are enjoying the fireworks that take place on the Russian territory. And by the way, we can see that those fireworks are actually taking place. Yes, just a Dutch guy. I think it's a fixed wing because it's pretty fast. Judging from the speed, FPV is not that fast. I think it's something like maybe like Paclo, maybe something like that. I cannot see the interface much. On the other hand, I think it was recorded on a different channel, maybe. Yeah, so switching to the fireworks on the Russian territory, we can see that Katya, hello there in the chat, by the way, and Beep, and Lucky Strike, we can see that the fireworks are taking place almost every single day, and Russians are absolutely happy to see those because their life is so boring in the terrorist federation. And we can observe them and not only see, but also hear what they're saying, all right? He says, like literally he says, I want to stop being a virgin. Don't ask, it's hard to explain.
Вот он, над нами прям, прикинь. Да ну нахуй.
He's like, check this out, it's flying over our house. Holy shit. Like, dude, what else did you expect? Come on, you gotta get used to that. You will see much more than that very, very soon, because basically the war that you started in Ukraine is coming home to the terrorist federation, and you gotta prepare yourself. Generally speaking, you know, Russians might really wanna check out some of my videos on what to have in their emergency backpacks and shit like that, but of course I will not do that. I will not share my videos with them. Let them fucking learn themselves. So basically the Russian missiles that were launched in the morning of 24th of February 2022 are finally returning home to the terrorist federation, making Russian citizens absolutely happy and excited. And of course, due to the Russian air defenses that are absolutely atrocious there, we can see that Russians also lose some of their windows, all right, to those. But again, blame Putin. Oh my god, the only person to blame for all this shit is Putin himself. I don't know who else you can blame, like, I have no idea. Putin, dear Russians, if you feel threatened by all those things, please ask your Tsar why did he even decide to start attacking Ukraine. And basically, you know that the laws of karma always work. All right. So what do we have in Bataysk? In Bataysk, we have, as far as I remember, several military facilities. The military factory, let me just clarify this for you, my friends, because I saw it. Bataysk. Yeah, so the Russian citizens of Bataysk in the Rostov Oblast are nagging because of all those things flying over their houses, and they say that soon they will die, and specifically they nag about missiles, all right? So one thing that I'm sure all sorts of pro-Russian degenerates will be saying is that Ukraine is striking civilian objects in the terrorist federation, right? Like, look at that, terrorist attack on civilian objects in Russia. So, listen to the sound, all right?
Ебать мой хуй.
Well, besides the Russian who nags about being virgin in like 45. So this sound belongs to a propeller-driven drone, all right? According to the reports, the Russians are nagging about missiles flying over their heads, And they also say that they're scared because they have a feeling that they will all die very soon. And the reason why they're talking about the missiles is basically because they're talking about the air defense missiles shot by Russian shitty air defense systems. Why they are shitty? Because those air defense systems, besides the rocket itself, I will actually show it for you, because why not? Panzer, wait a second. So hard to type without a keyboard. Let's check out Panzer, okay? So this is the Russian shed that is shooting those air defense, oh my god, air defense, anti-air missiles at Ukrainian drones, right? And you can see a bunch of launch tubes, a bunch of missiles themselves. And this is the missile itself. This is the guided anti-air missile, all right, that is used in that system. So all this part is basically the missile. You can see the warhead, you can see the fuel-containing tank, and basically the engine. And all this part, which basically makes it roughly half of this missile, right? So this is the acceleration module. And when this fucker shoots the missile, all right, first all this shit, all this hot dog, all this sausage flies out, all right, is getting launched towards the target or whatever, and then it separates. This stage flies into a Russian house, for example, and this part flies towards the target, in most cases, of course. So this stuff, where does it go? Where does it go? How do you think, my dear friends? And majority of those strikes, or like all that damage that the Russian degenerates are talking about, oh my god, Ukrainian drone hit a Russian house. So first of all, you deserved it, all right? Let's be honest. And second of all, again, blame Putin. Blame your fucking Russian military who designed, Russian constructors and designers who designed this fucking shit that actually flies in your balconies, in your kitchens, into your bedrooms and shit like that, and destroy your freaking grocery stores with kartoshka and kapusta, because this is the way your air defense works. It's dangerous for you, all right? It's dangerous for the Russian population on the first place. And also, basically, I don't feel sorry about that. I wish those missiles, keep flying in your civilian areas, because basically that is what you deserve, right? That's what you wished for Ukraine, and basically your wish, according to the laws of karma, returned to you, dear Russian citizens. So that's just a short explanation. Whenever you see some kind of Russian degenerate or pro-Russian imbecile who tells you that Ukrainian terrorists are striking those poor Russian citizens, you can literally explain them that is their very own fucking air defense, all right? That's very own Russian missiles hitting Russians, because not specifically missiles, but like stages of those missiles, because they were designed this way, all right? Let's return to the updates. We actually don't have much today, my friends. We have a very cringy message coming from a former spy, Andrei Bezrukov, who warned Vladimir Putin that he should not go to Budapest to meet Donald Trump, because there's a danger lurking just behind the corner. He said that the British secret services are preparing a cunning operation, and that is why the meeting should take place, for example, in Dubai instead. All right. In Dubai. Dear British, what can I say? So, despite all the shit that is happening in Trump's imaginary world, in the world of Trump's rhetorics, in the world of Trump's agenda that fucking jumps around like Bugs Bunny on drugs, despite all that shit, Ukraine keeps trying to establish good partnership, all right, proper partnership between the countries. Miroslav, hello, my friend. I still hope that you will join my stream sometime. And President Zelensky said that Ukraine is working really closely with the United States, so Ukraine could eventually receive the proper number of Patriot systems. Which is something I'm very, very looking forward to, all right? And also we have information coming from Ukraine's 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade that report that together with other units, they conducted a special operation of destroying the Russian command post that belonged to the 29th Russian Army of the East military districts. And according to the data that was obtained, because that strike, I saw it yesterday morning, but we didn't know much results, all right? There was information that approximately 20 or 30 Russian invaders became better, all right, as a result of the strike. But now we have new information coming from the Russian sources that confirm that a son of commander of the 18th Russian Army, Arkady Marzoyev, his son, Lieutenant Vasily Marzoyev, became a better Russian. He got promoted, all right? He got promoted from Russian invader to a fertilizer for Ukrainian kapusta, all right, for Ukrainian cabbage. Let's follow the Russian obituaries. That would be very interesting to confirm from official Russian sources, not just from the intercepted intelligence data, but that would be very, very interesting to see. So what else do we have? Again, we can see some footage coming from Rostov Oblast.
Ёбаный в рот, дожились, сука, как я боялась, что к нам это прилетит все.
Oh my god, my friends, this is something so cool. Oh, so the woman on the background, she says, fuck, now it's here. I was so afraid that all this shit will come to our territory. Fucking, for real, you were afraid. What can I say? Sorry.
Где дом упал?
Let's hear it one more time.
Ёбаный в рот, дожились, сука, как я боялась, что к нам это прилетит все.
Yeah, she's like, I was so concerned that all this will be flying here. I feel pity for you guys, but you deserve that shit.
Где дом упал? Чё орёшь, блядь? Дрон упал, блядь, дом упал, блядь.
Yeah, so someone shouts that the drone has fell down. Yeah, and she says we intercepted a drone, and basically that cloud of smoke that you can see is again another confirmation that they literally shot down a drone over their civilian quarters, over their civilian sector.
А мне послышалось, дом, блядь, упал. Да я вижу.
Yeah, and they're discussing that the drone fell down, that the drone was intercepted and crashed somewhere in the Russian civilian sector. I feel very, very pity. I feel sorry for you, dear Russian citizens. That's exactly what you deserved. And you have to prepare to see that. Like generally here, for example, we can see that some of the Russian houses, for example, still have electricity, right? There's like windows shining. And you may ask yourself, why are they home? All right, if there's like an airstrike, okay, why are those Russians home? Why they didn't go to the bomb shelter? And it's a proper question, my friends. And again, the answer to this question is because when there's a drone strike, for example, in some fucking Ust-Pizdyusk in Russia, the Russians literally go to their balconies and start recording video because they know that Ukrainian drones will not kill them, all right? And they understand that the only thing that can actually kill them is that Russian missile or that acceleration part of the Russian missile that will fly straight into their window, or maybe not, all right? And that is why we can see such picture. We can see like fucking, it's middle of the night, but you can see how many windows are still lit, and it's glowing like a freaking Christmas tree. Those Russians there in the windows, we can see observing the situation. They don't sleep. There you can even see a figure standing on the balcony making footage. They are not afraid. They're just there because they're not afraid of Ukrainian drones, right? And that's the biggest difference between them and us, because if the Russian drones are flying somewhere over Ukrainian cities, somewhere over Kiev, Ukrainians generally go to the bomb shelter because they know that Russian drone may not only crash into a heating or power station, it can also crash into a kindergarten, it can crash into a school, a hospital, because Russians use those targets to stretch Ukrainian air defense. They hit them often, and basically after that, Trump will be saying, that hospital was full of Ukrainian soldiers, right? I didn't make mistake Trump, not Putin, because we know that Putin always says that shit whenever they strike, children's hospital, children cardiology somewhere, and Russians say that that hospital was actually full of Ukrainian soldiers. When they strike a children playground, for example, the one that was visited by Mark Burns, right, Pastor Burns, they say that, like, basically that children's playground was full of Ukrainian soldiers and foreign mercenaries, on the swing, right? But as we can see from the recent updates coming from Donald Trump, he also now supports this fucking narrative. So Ukrainian forces have cleared an industrial zone not far from Pokrovsk, basically eliminating and taking plenty of prisoners among the Russian sabotage and reconnaissance. It's so cringy to call them operators, because there's literally just a crowd of fucking alcoholics and drug users. But anyways, we can see the dude is like, he's like, come on, get out. And the dude is like,
Пожалуйста, не убивайте меня.
The Russian is like, please don't kill me.
Будешь кидать, будешь живой.
And Ukrainians go, don't play stupid games, you will remain alive. Look at those tough Russian invaders. Please don't kill me. Dude, you took a weapon in your hands. You made your choice of going to a different country, thousands kilometers away from your fucking Ust-Pizdysk, alright? You are wearing military uniform. You signed contract yourself because you apparently had some kind of understanding what is expecting for you at the Ukrainian territory. On the war, all sorts of shit might happen, right? And now the dude is like, please don't kill me. Like, seriously, I feel such such a satisfaction, you know, again, as a former cop, not only as a former military, but as a former cop, when you see a big motherfucker who otherwise would be, I don't know, raping somebody in a village, or like snatching their toilet, or killing people, you can see this big fucking bully like that, all right? This is something that brings me so much joy to watch them in this state, and they pray, you know, not to kill them. Please spare us. That is literally something very beautiful. And again, it shows you the state of the Russian army. The dude says that he didn't want to fight. Ukrainian operators say thank you to that dude, all right, to that man. And basically here you can see how exactly that operation happened. Let's check it out. So Ukrainian operators are basically clearing this facility. They had information that a bunch of Russian Spetsnaz, Russian reconnaissance and sabotage operators infiltrated this area and basically took it under control. Yeah, so now they're telling this Russian to get out. You can see that sorry-ass face, alright? That's AR-15 with what sort of... Wait a second. What the fuck is that? Like, this part of... Right, this shit, okay? To me personally, maybe I'm wrong, but this shit looks like PSO-1. What the hell? This one is not AR-15 actually, or is it? Shit. Wait a second, I want to check out your... No, it kinda is. It kinda is. Yeah, but the optic scope literally looks like PSO-1 from fucking SVD. What the hell? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something different, just like, you know, that something that reminds of like PSO, but that's freaking insane. Yeah, so basically they tell the Russian occupier that if he's not playing stupid games, he will survive. Here, by the way, we can see that the Russian occupier is having some sort of... The fuck is this? Let me see it. That looks to me... Is that occupier's rifle? Looks to me like that new Russian AK. Yes, that's a kind of new Russian AK, but it fucking sucks, alright? It sucks big time. This part of it, the gas tube, it tends to rot often, alright? But the fact that the Russian terrorists are using the shorter rifles, alright, to go on a mission, actually tells us that this dude that is praying Ukrainian operators not to eliminate him, he's basically some of the Russian Spetsnaz operators. Like, look at this fucking mug, alright? Look at that fucking face. I can literally see this motherfucker coming into some Ukrainian house and literally asking like, where the fuck is your toilet? Alright, show me your air conditioner. I take that television set. Alright. Run, Forrest. And just like that, a Russian terrorist received a chance to breathe the air of democracy on Ukrainian-controlled territory. They say take off his armored vest. He has AK-12, like this new Russian rifle, and he has a radio station, of course, and all that shit. Guys, this freaking camo, I don't know. To me, it always reminded something like freaking diarrhea. Why the hell do Russians make their camo look like diarrhea? I have no idea. Yeah, and one of the Ukrainian operators says, because I'm reading the subtitles there, one of the Ukrainian operators says, you came to my home, and the dude is like, I didn't want to fight. So, you can see a Russian special force operator, right? He also doesn't have patches, not because Ukrainian took them, but because Spetsnaz usually doesn't wear patches because it's like a sign of a bad taste, all right? So look at this Russian invader, all right? Sitting there wearing armored vest, wearing Russian uniform, having a bunch of radio stations, a bunch of different equipment, and the new Russian AK-12, right? That is, and by the way, the stock of this rifle looks, I would say, custom, right? Customized, because they usually have a different one. And he is sitting there and he says, I didn't want to fight. When Ukrainian operator tells him that you motherfuckers came to my home, here he says, I didn't want to fight. I don't know what to say. I mean, if you didn't want to fight, you would be fucking drinking beer somewhere outside on a bench in your freaking Huizalupinsk. Like, that's obvious. If you didn't want to fight, you would not wear a uniform, you would not take that Kalashnikov, and you would not come to Ukraine. I didn't want to fight. My friends, that, like, you can see it over here, all right? He says, I didn't want to fight. There it is, like the subtitles. That's another confirmation that Russians are fucking liars. Never trust Russians, whatever they say. When they speak, when you see their lips moving, they basically say bullshit, because the dude sitting there wearing a Spetsnaz equipment, the latest Russian rifle, saying, I didn't want to fight. You fucking kidding me? What the hell are you even doing in Ukraine? I didn't want to fight. So yeah, according to the reports coming from the special forces of Ukraine, they took one prisoner. The fate of the rest of the Russian invaders there remains unclear. We have a footage of this new Russian gliding bomb that can fly up to 200 kilometers. This is what the shit looks like, and yeah, there it is. We can see that the Russians expanded like this part of the bomb, and to me it looks like it has an improved jet engine or something like that, jet accelerator, all right? The Russian soldier might have thought he was on vacation in Ukraine. Basically, yeah, turned out we don't have vodka to share. Is it normal for all orcs to be so stupid? Basically, that's the typical trait of their kind, all right? That's a typical trait. You can basically, I don't know, go to a Russian recruitment office, sign contract, go to a different country. If you survive, you can snatch a toilet. If you are trapped, you can basically tell Ukrainians that you didn't want to fight, and they will believe you. But you see, guys, Ukrainians don't execute Russian prisoners. Like there were numerous videos, all those pieces of footage that showed Russians executing Ukrainian prisoners of war. There were a lot of reports coming from the United Nations about the same thing. And that poor Russian fuck is actually very, very happy. You know, he doesn't even understand how happy he is because Ukrainians don't execute Russian prisoners of war. Can the Ukrainian soldiers say they slipped on an olive and accidentally shot the POW? Unfortunately not, unfortunately. At the same time, you know, again, as someone who saw the action just a bit, all right, just a bit, back in my days, I can tell you that sometimes Russians actually act in some very, very strange way. For example, like when you take them as a prisoner, sometimes they literally like stand on all fours. They start like smashing their face against the ground, especially, you know, the Russians that did something bad previously, all right? I didn't see it myself, but I've heard such stories, all right? They literally take Ukrainian fist and start like smashing their face against Ukrainian fist or something like that. I've heard crazy stories like that. What is going on with those Russians? I have no idea, but that's a reality. So speaking of those Russian gliding bombs, we can see that it has this additional cylindrical structure over here that probably contains an improved jet engine or jet booster, jet accelerator. The latest Russian tests actually showed that this Russian gliding bomb actually has a range of 193 kilometers, which is absolutely insane. The Minister of Defense of the UK, Mr. Gilley, on Monday, he said that London is already preparing for a possible deployment of peacekeepers in case Kyiv and Muscovia reach an agreement, all right? One thing, again, that you should know about Trump, for example, when Trump talks about a peace deal, all right? In Ukrainian language, peace deal is a very cringy word. You don't use it when kids are around, all right? Peace deal, because peace deal means how to say it, like, it doesn't sound exactly like the word I'm trying to describe, but it means either a person who says bullshit or a person who steals shit, all right? Пиздил. Пиздилович. Trump Пиздилович. So, speaking of our friends from the UK, of course, that would be absolutely beautiful, but we all know that it's not gonna happen, at least not this year, unfortunately, because the Russian invaders are not ready for any peace deal, all right? They're not ready to stop killing Ukrainians because it goes against all the reasons they even started the war against Ukraine. So the journalists asked Trump, who actually talked about Ukraine like having all chances to win the war, and then Trump said that he never said that.
2 weeks ago at UNGA, you said that Ukraine could possibly win the war and keep its territory, but now
They
the
could still
story
win
seems
it. I don't
It's a bit quiet.
know, but they could still win it. I never said they would win it. I said they could win. Anything can happen. You know, war is a very strange thing. A lot of bad things happen. A lot of good things happen.
The war is a very strange thing. A lot of bad things happen, a lot of good things happen. When you see a war through a fucking screen, alright, or on like images on a paper, you know, somewhere in a magazine, yeah, it looks very strange. A lot of things happen that you don't fucking understand. Because you're not even a military. I'm sorry for criticizing your American president, my friends, but generally, yeah, if you have never served in the army, well, that's a normal thing, all right? I think I'm too much of a criticist, all right? I don't want to criticize him much because he's a civilian. I can understand that a lot of things about the war seem strange to this person. It's normal, all right? It's normal. Which, by the way, explains why he changes his opinion about Ukraine so fast, all right? A lot of strange things happen on the war. Something shoots, something explodes, some people running around. What the fuck is that? I have literally no idea. Hexet, please explain. Hexet is like, how the fuck do I know, Mr. President? I didn't even know that I was wearing like Russian flag on my fucking necktie, right? The fuck do I know? So, Russian propagandist Solovyov, Russian top propagandist Solovyov, on the Russian national television called to actually start a full-scale war instead of the special military operation. So you remember that last week he was calling to start striking the European cities, Brussels, London, Paris, and stuff like that, which again will never happen because his kids live somewhere there, all right? His kids actually live in Italy. As far as I remember, he had a lot of property in Italy. And this time he is calling to switch from just special military operation to the state of war. Let's hear this Russian degenerate. If we want to win,
армии надо воевать.
Our army has to fight.
Не дронами, не стрелковым оружием.
Not with drones, not with firearms. What?
Не перемещением по 2 человека. А для этой цели надо перейти из режима СВО в режим войны.
Okay, all right. I take it back, my friends. Okay, I take it back. Compared to this Russian individual, Hexet and Trump are military genius, actually. All right, they are genius. They are like Sun Tzu versus a Russian toilet snatcher, because what he just said actually. So he says, if we want to win, speaking of orcs, okay, he says, if we want to win, our army should fight. So the question, what does your army do in Ukraine for the past 4 fucking years? Stupid moron. Literally, are they're like on a cruise or something, or like spending vacations? You lost 1 million of your very own orcs that I believe you're even afraid to see on the streets, all right, in the real life, because they will make your face look a bit more cute, because a lot of Russians were actually tricked by your fucking propaganda, went to Ukraine, became better Russians, and now they have widows and stuff. But besides all that stuff, all right, he says, if we want to win, our army should fight not with drones, not with firearms. Another question emerges, did you even fucking serve in the army? Because I believe that you didn't. Okay, if the army doesn't fight with drones and firearms, then what do you want the Russians to fight with? Fucking throw potato? Or like attack Ukrainian tanks with sticks or something like that? Or literally ride donkeys with spears? That's fantastic! Oh my god! I didn't expect to hear that actually. I heard the whole message this morning, but apparently I was too sleepy. So he says, yeah, basically, Steve, I think that he wants the Russian soldiers to fight with shovels or something like that. So he literally says, Russian army should fight if we want to win, because since 2022, all those Russian columns that burned in Bucha, for example, they weren't fighting. They were just, like rolling around, like taking tours in the Kyiv Oblast. And he says, but not with drones, not with firearms, which is, again, really? He says, we should switch from the special military operation to a full-scale war. And like I'm trying to analyze it, and it makes absolutely no sense. I don't know why he even became a top Russian propagandist. I don't know. Apparently he had some very, very good connections somewhere, but this shit makes absolutely no sense. What I actually wanted to mention here is that when he talks about switching from the special military operation to a state of the full-scale war, that's like that part is actually threatening, because that part actually means that he is calling Russians to prepare for possible mobilization. There's a lot of experts actually speak about the upcoming Russian mobilization already this spring, all right? The upcoming spring of 2026. And what Solovyov says on the television is basically what Putin wants people to hear. He receives his topics directly from the presidential office of the president of the terrorist federation, all right? He receives his topics directly from Kremlin. So when he starts talking about like striking Europe, preparing for the full-scale war against NATO, preparing for shifting the suicidal Russian operation to a full-scale war and stuff like that, that is actually threatening, because he is preparing the Russian population for the necessity of actually getting mobilized and go to war and basically die for Putin. But the first part of his message I actually missed. Like, We should prepare to fight, but not with drones and not with firearms. Really? Please do. I mean, I support that. If you don't want to fight with drones and firearms, please do. Actually, you know, dude, I will support this statement. For real. I support that. I don't want Russians to fight with drones and firearms. Whatever weapons you pick, like fucking spears, potato, I don't know, fish. maybe they will, like, I don't know, like throw a bunch of at Ukrainian positions. That's actually deadly, because that shit stinks. Which, by the way, explains why Russians stink so bad when they become better. So I don't know. He's threatening nuclear weapons again. AJ, I'm not afraid of that, and I believe that nobody is afraid of that, right? Besides, for example, Joe Rogan, nobody is scared of Russian nuclear threats, because we've already heard about that, right? Russian nuclear weapons. Paul, tactical balalaika. Yeah. Tactical balalaikas. Oh my god. Maybe he meant something like Russian Orthodox cross or something. Because, by the way, my friends, this dude on the screen, right, Solovyov, this one. Remember the last time I showed you the examples of the Russian like contactless combat using Orthodox cross, Sistema Kadashnikova, and all that, fairy tale Jedi style Russian martial art. So Solovyov actually attended the courses of Sistema. Like, remember the big round Russian dude, all right, Sistema Repko, the dude who actually scams not only Russians but, for example, Americans, because he has several offices of Sistema in the United States. So that dude is one of his fans. I think I have it on a YouTube somewhere. Just a second. I need to check. Just for giggles, all right? I know that my YouTube history is off. Thank you for telling me that. Solovyov. Wait, how the fuck do I pronounce his Solovyov? Solovyov Sistema. Let's check this out. Sistema Solovyov. All right. Yeah, so basically here you can see this shit, okay? That's oh my god, let me just, oh my god, why it doesn't work? I cannot even move the screen. Okay, like this. All right, I fixed it. So here you can see Solovyov. Like, on the right is that big round dude, Ryabko, the scammer, the dude who created this contactless secret Russian Spetsnaz martial arts. And on the left is Solovyov himself. You can see them swinging sabers. Okay, so they stand and swing sabers. Why do they do that? I have no fucking idea. Apparently they swing and they just imagine how they just turn all their enemies in Brussels, in London, into a bloody ground meat. And here Solovyov is walking with the saber like he's been hit in the head with a hammer, and he's now like rolling. Why does he do that? I don't know. But anyways, that was interesting. So Solovyov is actually a big fan of this scam, all right, called Sistema. I tried actually to find a different interview where he says that Sistema changed my life. I had those crazy pains all over my body and I couldn't breathe, but then I went to this course of Sistema and I changed. I became a superhuman. I can drink 5 bottles of vodka while sitting on the 6th bottle of vodka in the pose of lotus, and I feel fine. So he kind of tried to promote this shit, all right? And of course, because Solovyov is like famous Russian top propagandist, and he talks about it. Of course, it attracts a lot of stupid Russians that pay money to Repko, and Repko literally gives Solovyov his percentage for the advertisement. This is how it works in Russia. But it was kind of cringy. And he was like, I remember Repko went to this martial arts competition. We could see a lot of those, like jiu-jitsu, those boxers, MMA, all that shit. And there were like just typical, like common Russian guys, just standing there like this, and they had competition, and all of those boxers and karatists tried to attack Tavarish Repko, and Tavarish Repko was just standing there and like kicking them, and they were falling down. I'm watching that shit. It was made like 15 years ago, probably. I'm watching that shit. Oh yeah. Матрица — это наша система now. Yes, Arthur, that's a very good comparison. Oh my god. Like, what can you tell about a dude who works as a top Russian propagandist, alright? Who says shit like that Russians don't have to fight with their drones and firearms, which I completely agree with. And at the same time, he attends shit like this, he walks with the sword like a fucking, I don't know, fucking Highlander or something, and practices all that contactless combat. I don't know, maybe together with Steven Seagal. I have no idea. Maybe Steven Seagal is now like learning Sistema himself. Maybe not. Does he have a fake nuclear button on the set? But he does. Alright, let's change the rest of the updates, my friends. Not a lot of them left for you. So one very, very interesting episode about Solovyov that you should actually know, okay? And this one is coming from another Russian propagandist, another Russian so-called meal blogger, Pozdnyakov. One thing you should know about Solovyov, about this dude. All right. So Solovyov was actually known in the Terrorist Federation for raising funds for this shit. Okay. When Russia actually burned a lot of their vehicles, a lot of their tanks and stuff like that, you all know the story. Solovyov decided to raise funds for the Russian degenerates, from the Russian degenerates, and he started collecting money to buy this shit. Like what you're looking at, let me see if I can fix it somehow on the screen. Yeah, all right. So what you are looking at is the latest innovation of Russian fucking Skolkovo Innovation Center called coffins with the wheels. You can see that this shit is probably made by Russian orphans somewhere in Huizalupinsk, okay? These, I don't know. Does it even have some kind of fucking engine or something? Look at those seats. It's like as if we were building something similar in the 5th grade, okay? We wanted the birds to live in those things. And the birds were happy. So Solovyov bought a lot of those devices for the, yes, Galin and Mosseri. That is plywood. That's over there. That is basically seats made out of plywood. Starsky, is your love of death metal that started this war? No, it started much, much earlier. It expanded during this war. Flintstones, yes, Flintstones, Kiwi, thank you so much. I tried to find the proper association. I completely forgot about this one. So you've seen like Russian bikes, Russian Chinese bikes. You've seen Russian golf carts. You've seen Russian donkeys, horses, of course, and everything else. Why you don't see this shit? Why you don't see this shit on the front line actually used by the Russian terrorists? Paznikov, another Russian propagandist who doesn't like Solovyov, gives a very simple explanation. So those carts that Solovyov actually built, okay, and collected enormous money from the stupid Russian population, 100% on that Mosseri pronunciation. Thank you so much. I took courses, all right. So the explanation why Russians don't use these specific carts is because they are even shittier than Chinese golf carts. They are so shitty. So, for example, Russian units receive them and they just put them somewhere in the storage space outside, and they don't even fucking touch them. They prefer using donkeys rather than that shit, okay? And here, for example, you can see a bunch of those carts, vehicles, carts. You can see a bunch of them actually in the same spot. Those like amazing Russian innovations, right? You can see like a bunch of them on the same spot, rusty, and nobody is even touching them because they are so shitty. But despite all that, that's still a success story, a Russian success story, because despite the fact that they are not used, because Russians understand that this shit will get stuck in like the tiniest puddle in the mud and everything else, Solovyov actually earned a lot of money by scamming the people. And it is reported that Solovyov actually received millions of rubles, which is roughly tens of thousands of dollars, by scamming Russians to build those, whatever, I don't even know how to call this shit. So that's the Mk2 Armata X-Talis, 100%. That's like new generation, all right? That video from yesterday where the Russian motorcycles kept riding into a smoke disaster. At least, my friend, those bikers had like actual machines, that can drive. All right, this shit, as NVMD says, that's literally Anala Govnet. That is literally what the way Russians like to call their whatever it is. But now you know the thing, all right? So the fact is, all Solovyov's shows, all his calls to start the full-scale invasion of Europe and striking European cities and things like that. So all that shit is, generally speaking, is just a show to cover his business built on the blood of the Russian soldiers. As easy as that. Just so you could understand, all right? Because war, great Russian motherland and shit like that, it doesn't matter. The dude is literally earning money by scamming his own Russian citizens, building that stuff that actually, I don't know how much that shit could cost. Guys, tell me, like, I cannot see what sort of like an engine is installed on this whatever it is. I have no idea. Maybe something tiny, maybe something like 99 cubic centimeters, maybe even less. The diameter of the wheels is absolutely amazing. You can imagine that if, for example, 4 grown-up Russians wearing equipment and body armor and all the additional ammo are loaded in this shit, you can imagine what generally happens to it, right? I don't know. I think that probably even an FPV drone may actually cost more than that. I think, maybe I'm wrong, but that stuff doesn't look like it costs $1,000, maybe much less, I think. Yeah, but anyways, now you know, okay? Another Russian propagandist is spreading panics in the Russian swamps, Sladkov, who says that Ukrainians created the drone army and Russia still cannot do that. Which is something very interesting, because when Russians talk about Ukraine, they say Ukraine is a country 404, it's a country that doesn't exist, it's poor, it's corrupted, it's basically, I don't know, technologically and mentally impaired, all right? Ukraine is like basically nothing. At the same time, Russia is launching its spaceships to a different galaxy. They have like the coolest inventions and things like that. Inventions like those cards, for example. At the same time, in Ukrainian army, the unmanned forces, the drone forces, were created, I believe, I don't know, we had the drone companies officially, we had them probably 2023, 2024. So in the technologically impaired Ukraine, they have drone forces. In the advanced and modern Russia, they still cannot create them, for the reasons nobody can explain. Maybe you can, my dear friends, I don't know. But for example, Russian propagandists are nagging so bad that Russian Kremlin cannot actually establish the drone troops, all right? He basically says, here in Russia, the unmanned units, cannot be created no matter how much they talk about it. Of course, you can say, come on, we already almost created them. And I will ask, who is the commander of the drone forces of the Russian Federation? Where is the military academy? Ukrainians already announced of creating such forces, and they created them immediately. And by the way, he also mentions, and this one is actually very interesting, he mentions that maybe if we had drone army, they would intercept Ukrainian drones flying at Russian oil refineries. And he says, when you don't understand what is going on, basically, if you have bad situational awareness and also you have plenty of negative consequences, a lot of inconvenient questions emerge. But please don't be worried, because you will never ask those inconvenient questions in the terrorist federation, where you don't have any freedom of speech. You may ask yourself, who is that individual, all right, on your screen? So you know that the International Crime Court in Hague issued 2 warrants, right? One is arrest warrant for Putin, and you know why. Basically, his biggest the most serious charge against Putin was that he actually kidnapped and deported Ukrainian children from Ukraine to Russia against the will of their parents, or their parents were eliminated, of course, or against the will of their guardians or their relatives, etc., etc. So Russia already violated the law, and no matter what they say, like evacuation, fuck that shit. Actually, a lot of journalists already uncovered the Russian websites that are basically offering adoption for Ukrainian kids under different names. It's in the Google. So this individual that you can see on the screen, that is Maria Lvova Belova. That is another person. That is literally the woman who works for Putin. She is responsible for literally snatching Ukrainian kids, for deporting them to the terrorist federation, for indoctrinating, for assimilating them with Russians, and basically raising them as future Russian invaders. So what is she saying? This video is not really fresh. It's actually, it was made earlier this year in March, but not a lot of people actually saw this one.
Сейчас я смотрю на Филиппа, и я понимаю, что это было не зря.
So basically what this woman is saying, she is bragging that she forcefully adopted a Ukrainian child. She raised him as a Russian. She basically changed his identity, and she is happy about that. She is bragging about that. She says, when I look at Philip, I understand that all that wasn't in vain.
То есть это был очень тяжелый путь, очень сложный.
She says it was a long path. It was very, very hard, because when Philip arrived to Russia, when he was brought to Russia by Russian kidnappers, he was actually anti-Russian. He didn't support Russian war in Ukraine. And over time, she actually managed to change his mentality. She changed his firmware, so to say. And this is what she explains on the Russian television, and she is very happy about that, about kidnapping a 15-year-old child from Ukraine and receiving an award, Mother of the Year. So that is just so you could understand why she has a fucking warrant, all right, on her. Richard, her name is Maria Lvova Belova. I will put it in the chat. I'm using the rectal Russian language. I'm sorry. Let me switch the languages. Maria Lvova Belova. That's like another Russian war criminal that is now wanted by the International Crime Court in The Hague, right? So there's Putin and there's this individual. That's just so you could see her face, understand who she is.
Но это сейчас человек, который учится в юридическом колледже.
So she says that now Philip, this 15-year-old Ukrainian kid that she kidnapped from Ukraine, now he studies in the Russian. He studies law in the Russian college, all right? Law in the Russian college. Are you fucking kidding me? This is like, if it wasn't tragic, that would be cringy. But unfortunately, that's tragic, my friends.
Который мечтает пойти дальше по силовой линии, значит, Следственный комитет или прокуратура. То есть
And she explains that this kid, due to her efforts, he now wants to finish the law college in Russia and continue via the law enforcement sector. So either become an investigator or a policeman or something like that. So basically he can eventually become a National Guardsman and be sent to a different country, to Ukraine, for example, and fight for Putin. That's just so you could understand, all right? She didn't adopt the kid because she wanted a kid, because she wanted a help. No, she adopted a kid to change his mentality and basically turn him into a future invader that can be literally spent somewhere in the meat-assault for Putin.
юриспруденция, который любит страну, который ставит себе на аватарку вместо Бандеры Александра Гельевича Дугина.
And she is very, very proud that now this kid in the social media, that instead of Stepan Bandera, he is planting Dugin, all right, on his user pic in the social media. Are you fucking kidding me?
Это очень существенно все поменяло в его жизни. Он сейчас говорит, я абсолютно счастлив, я тебя люблю. Называет там меня матушкой, значит, как бы я для него вот, ну, действительно настоящая мать.
And she brags that now this Ukrainian child calls her mommy. He says, I love you, and everything else. So basically now she is happy because she took a Ukrainian child from a Ukrainian family. Again, what happened to his parents? I believe that most probably his parents were eliminated by Russians. She brought him to Russia. She indoctrinated him. She sent him to a Russian law college, all right? And after that, he will continue in this direction. I don't know what to say, really, my friends. I don't know what to say, really. Yes, I think I will just reply with this commentary because that's absolutely sick. And guys, there are a lot of Ukrainian kids like that. The very fact that Russians are indoctrinating Ukrainian kids in the fucking military camps is absolutely insane, all right? It's absolutely insane and disgusting. But Russians don't see anything bad about that. Not like nothing wrong. Military camps in Russia for kids, so what? Let them learn how to disassemble and assemble Kalashnikov. Please let me know if this can be justified from any standpoint, all right? Because I believe there's a lot of supporters of the Russian terrorism somewhere on the West that will say like, yeah, she was saving Ukrainian child. She was saving Ukrainian kids from their parents, right? That's absolutely disgusting, and that is one of the reasons why Russian terrorism should be not just deconstructed, but also banned. Also banned, cancelled, prosecuted. We should search for those people and we should punish them for what they do. all right, for the evil they actually promote. I don't know why exactly Trump is such a big fan of Putin and his best friend Maria Lvova Belova, but I don't even know if, for example, explaining Trump what the Russians are doing to Ukrainian kids, all right, 20,000 Ukrainian children that were snatched from the country, I'm not sure if it is going to change anything. I know that Melania Trump is working in that direction. But again, you see, when the Russians are asked about like the Ukrainian kids that they kidnapped from Ukraine, they usually say, no, we never kidnapped anyone. That's a lie. Like there's no Ukrainian kids on the Russian territory, or for example, they were evacuated and shit like that. And then you can see like a video where they brag about deconstructing Ukrainian mentality or things like that, and they brag about turning Ukrainian kids into Russians, all right? And then they also say, oh, by the way, Melania, we have like a bunch of Ukrainian kids that we can return home, all right? Here's 8 Ukrainian children out of 20,000. Okay, you can have them. But we never kidnapped anyone. And just to, I think, to finish this on a more positive note, because I understand that it's extremely depressing to watch, crimes like that. That is literally a crime, kidnapping a child from Ukraine and turning this child into a future soldier, to literally throw him into a meat grinder. That's a crime, 100%. So let's check out some of the good news, right? There's this Maxim Kalashnikov, another Russian propagandist, who is also a very, very angry Russian so-called meal blogger, friend of Igor Girkin and things like that, all right? So he's basically like Russian fascist. That's why he cannot say openly, he cannot openly criticize Putin, but at the same time, he tries. So Maxim Kalashnikov is saying that Russia is experiencing a crisis in terms of its metal production, all right, which is the biggest crisis since 1990s. He says that the Russian metal factories started massively firing their personnel because the demand is going down. He says that a wave of forceful, how do you call this? Like when you fire someone but massively, guys, let me know. What's the word for that, right? I don't have it in my vocabulary. So the way of such cases and shifting the employees from full week to shortened working week approached Russian metal production sector. Some of the key industries that have almost 20% of every that involve 20% of almost all the industries in the Russian country. That was interesting. He says because of the decreasing demand, redundancy. I don't think it's redundancy. I think there's a different word. Mass layoff. I think, yeah, that's one. So because of the falling demand, because of expensive credits, loans basically, and because of worsening financial показатели. Holy shit. I hate when they talk like that. That rectal fucking shit called Russian language is making me so mad, when I'm trying to translate it for you. That's just freaking insane. So the point of all this crap coming from Maxim Kalashnikov is that the Russian metallurgical plants and Russian enterprises that work with metals, that produce metals, they started to shrink their personnel, all right? According to Reuters, that refers to its sources in the Russian metal industry. How do you like that, Elon Musk? So, it was planned that Marco Rubio and Russian dying horse Lavrov were supposed to meet this week, but the meeting got cancelled. You probably remember several days ago, Marco Rubio called Russian dying horse on the phone. They had a talk, and they decided to have a meeting together, right? So according to the Ministry of the External Affairs of the Terrorist Federation, you cannot postpone something that was never meant to happen. Just fucking, oh my god, what kind of rhetorics is that? Holy mother of duck. According to CNN, the meeting was postponed, but according to the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it was not even supposed to happen, all right? According to the American side, it was supposed to happen. And the reason it was postponed is because Terrorist Federation didn't show much readiness or much will to decrease, their murderous escalation in Ukraine, decrease its demands regarding Ukraine, and that is why this meeting was postponed. According to Russians, they never even, decided to have a meeting. The fuck is that? I hate it when there's no order, in such important things as, I don't know, international affairs. It just sucks. Another interesting message coming from the Russian terrorists officially, all right? So the Russian terrorists on the occupied territory of Ukraine will be taking the abandoned Ukrainian houses and transferring them and basically inventoryizing them, all right? They will be taking the abandoned houses, abandoned apartments that were basically abandoned by the Ukrainian population that ran from those territories or basically was killed, all right? And they will put that property into the Russian inventory. So basically they will turn this property from private property to state-owned property. According to this project, according to this amazing terror Russian initiative, they can recognize living space as abandoned in case there is no one to confirm that it actually belongs to somebody. There's, for example, no documents, no papers that you can show, or, for example, they cannot establish who is the owner of this house or this apartment somewhere in like Makeyevka, Donetsk, I don't know, Avdiivka, Bakhmut, or anything. Of course, if the house survived. But the main point is that if Ukrainians Ukrainian family who lived their whole life in this apartment or a house, if they went to controlled Ukrainian territory, the Russians will be taking their houses. So this initiative was approved by the Russian government, and it's also mentioned that such apartments and houses will be recognized not only in the Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, but also in Kherson, in Zaporizhia. They will be recognized as Russian state property. So how will they use the property that they took from Ukrainian people? That's a question. And the answer to that is that, according to this initiative, they will be transferring this property to the Russian citizens who came to the new territories. And also they may be used, for example, by Russian servicemen or for example, state employees, all right? How do you like that? I have such flashbacks with, for example, 1937, all right, or even 1932, 1933, when, for example, Russian invaders came to Ukraine. They killed millions of Ukrainians with the artificial hunger, and then they took their houses, they brought Russian settlers, and basically let them live in the houses that were still warm, from the people who lived before them, which is Russia doesn't change, all right? Russia doesn't change. There's no way to change this filthy terrorist swamp besides just reconstructing everything, besides canceling Russian degenerate culture, besides reconstructing all that shit. And why I'm calling the Russian culture degenerate, I would really like you to meet one person, all right? What was his name? Vitaly Zdarovetsky. Yeah, I would really like you to meet this dude, all right? This amazing degenerate that you can see on your screens in the police department, which is a proper place for a Russian degenerate. His name is Vitaly Zdarovetsky. Do you know who he is? Just a couple words about this individual. So, I'm not gonna mention much that he is half Russian, half American. He's natively Russian, but of course, because a true Russian never really wants to live in the terrorist federation. He went to the United States, where he became one of the biggest supporters of Trump in 2024. And later, he decided to move to Philippines. In the Philippines, Jason, yes, that's a dickhead, but let me explain his story just a bit more, right? So he's a YouTuber, as Fragaria Vesca says. He's a YouTuber. You most probably saw his pranks on a YouTube sometime. He went to Philippines where he decided to harass people, and basically he has a channel dedicated to prank and stuff like that. Like, you can see it online, you can see everything yourself, because all the crimes that he committed against the people in the Philippines, they were filmed by himself, okay, and later used as evidence in the court in the Philippines. So pranks like approaching somebody, some woman, for example, and telling them, I am robbing you, all right, and shit like that, trying to snatch a gun from a local police officer. So all sorts of sketchy, degenerate Russian pranks, okay, And that's one of the reasons why I basically call this a degenerate culture, because normal human beings don't do this shit, right? We are trying to be friendly, we are trying to evolve, not to degrade. And this dude seems very, very upset. And the reason he's upset is because he will spend some time, approximately a couple of years, in the special camp. All right, it's not yet a prison, but it's a jail. All right, so he will spend some time there before the actual sentence is announced. And it's a nasty place, let's be honest. So he's not allowed to make videos, he's not really allowed to eat the food from the outside, for example, which again I completely approve. And in order to actually understand how many years he will have to spend behind the bars, he will have to actually spend some more years in this camp before the final trial. The reason I mentioned this degenerate is because in some of our previous videos we talked about the other degenerate who actually attacked Ukrainian family, I believe going to the Switzerland, in the tram, in the train. And that degenerate was also pressed charges against. Can I say like this? I hope so. So this dude was also accused. The dude actually didn't speak German. He didn't speak any languages that people speak in Switzerland. And he didn't have any sort of citizenship or residentship of Switzerland, so which was again very sketchy, and police actually launched a case against this idiot. You saw that video, it will take time to find it, but generally there was a Russian degenerate literally sitting in the train, and when he heard Ukrainian people speaking Ukrainian language in this train, he started attacking them, he started jumping at them and shouting that we will kill you all, stop recording me, and stuff like that. He started threatening Ukrainian family, and basically he started behaving like a typical Russian, all right? For example, when you look at Sanctioned Ivan or the Russian dude on a YouTube, I cannot call them typical Russians, even though they speak Russian language, and it triggers me all the time because I hear the accent that I got used to shoot in the direction of, all right? But they are not typical Russians. They are, such cases happen only like 1 in 10 million, all right? Generally speaking, when you see a Russian tourist somewhere, a Russist on a train or in a bus, or you can see a Russist resting somewhere in the Turkish hotel, drunk as fuck at 9 a.m., jumping into an empty pool, shouting at their kids and cursing and stuff like that. That is a very, very typical sign of a Russian culture, which we have to cancel, I think. Because this is absolutely destructive, ugly, and ridiculous phenomenon that is so alien to our culture. It's very alien, but the problem is because it's so primitive, it finds a lot of followers, actually. It finds a lot of followers against other primitive degenerates. So we gotta do something to stop this culture from spreading, all right? We gotta find a way to cancel it, and also we gotta find a way to bring more of such aggressive and absolutely dangerous Russian terrorists coming to other countries to justice. I also believe, that's just my personal opinion, that it's a good reason to start going to a gym to learn boxing or something like that. spend time with your friends pushing iron or pulling iron, and actually learning how to defend yourself from a Russian degenerate on the street, because unfortunately such encounters around Europe are frequent, all right? Let's be honest. That is why we should all be able to defend ourselves and stop Russian terrorism from spreading, not only with the help of European police, but also ourselves. That's very, very important. Our health and our life is in our hands, right, my friends? So with that, I think I will be finishing this stream because, again, I had absolutely no breakfast, and it's already 1 p.m. in beautiful Deutschland. So I think I will leave this flag here on the background. It looks absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for this idea. I've no idea why I never did it before, but it just looks so great. My dear friends, thank you so much for your support. Tony, by the way, hello, hello. Kiwi, Karen, 9 Moon Planet, Trine, thank you so much for staying with us. Test Rabbit, I hope you'll have a beautiful day. We'll see you later. Please let me know what you think about this episode. Also, leave your commentaries in the commentaries, because I will be trying to answer them as much as possible. And we'll see you next time. My God, I cannot even pronounce words properly. I've been speaking since yesterday, and this week was crazy, and it already makes me cry, even though it only started yesterday. Anyways, we will survive, right? My dear friends, see you later. Be safe, and thanks for standing with Ukraine, because this is the proper thing. Bye-bye.